everyone. My name is Wanda Kay, and I'm excited to be here with you to share with you an amazing book that my friend and mentor first shared with me. He said, Wanda, you need to read this thing. And I thought, pretty good idea. And I know a lot of other people that need to read it too. I get it, you're busy, lots of things going on, but hey, why not just spend a little time here, stick your headset in, plug it in, go ahead, do the laundry, whatever you got to do, and let's start our adventure today reading The Greatest Miracle in the World by Mandino. I'm going to try and share with you chapter 1 today, so let's get started. Chapter 1, The Greatest Miracle in the World by Mandino. And I'm skipping past, I should have already had myself queued up. Here we go, chapter 1. The first time I saw him, he was feeding pigeons. By itself, the simple act of charity is not an unusual sight. One can find old people who themselves look as if they could use a good meal, dropping crumbs for birds on the wharves of San Francisco, the Common in Boston, the sidewalks of Times Square, and points of interest in every city. But this old man was doing it at the peak of a brutal snowstorm that, according to all the news station in my car, or the all news station in my car, it had already dumped a record-breaking 26 inches of white misery on Chicago suburbs. With rear wheels spinning, I had finally inched my car up the slight sidewalk incline to the gate of the self-park lot, a block behind my office, when I first noticed him. He was standing in the ebb of a monstrous snowdrift, oblivious of the elements, rhythmically removing what appeared to be breadcrumbs from a brown paper bag and dropping them carefully into a cluster of birds that swirled and swooped around the folds of his nearly ankle-length army-style overcoat. I watched him through the metronomic sweeps of my hissing windshield wipers as I rested my chin on the steering wheel, trying to generate sufficient willpower to open my car door, step out into the blizzard, and walk to the gate release box. He reminded me of those St. Francis golden statues garden statues that one sees in plant and shrubbery stores. Snow almost completely covered his shoulder-length hair and had sprinkled itself through his beard. Flakes had even attached themselves to his heavy eyebrows, further accenting his dark, high cheekbone features. Around his neck hung a leather cord, and attached to it was a wooden cross which swayed from side to side as he dispensed tiny bits of the staff of life. Tied to his left wrist was a piece of clothesline which led down to where it was wrapped around the neck of an old multicolored basset hound whose ears dragged deeply into the accumulation of whiteness that had been falling since yesterday afternoon. As I watched the old man, his face broke into a smile, and he began talking to the birds. I shook my head in silent sympathy and reached for the door handle. The 26-mile trip from home to office had consumed more than 3 hours, half a tank of gas, and nearly all of my patience. My faithful 240Z, its transmission whining a constant and monotonous complaint in low gear, had run a broken field course past countless stalled trucks and cars along Willow Road, down Eden's Expressway, along Touhy Avenue, across Ridge, east on Devon, and past the Broadway intersection to the parking lot on Winthrop Street. It had been insanity on my part to even make the attempt to get to work that morning, but let me start that paragraph again. It had been insanity on my part to even make the attempt to get to work that morning. But for the previous 3 weeks, I had been touring the United States, promoting my book, The Greatest Salesman in the World, and after I had told 49 radio stations and television audiences, plus more than 24 newspaper reporters, that perseverance was one of the most important secrets to success, I didn't dare let myself be defeated, even by that angry witch, Mother Nature. Furthermore, there was a board of directors meeting scheduled for the coming Friday. As Success Unlimited magazine's president, I needed this Monday and every other day this week to review our past year's performance and next year's projections with each department head. I wanted to be prepared, as I had always been, for any unexpected question that might be tossed my way once I was on my feet at the head of that long boardroom table. The parking lot, situated as it was in the midst of a decaying neighborhood, changed its character twice each 24 hours. During the evening and nighttime hours, it was occupied by vehicles that would have been sold for junk by any other self-respecting used car dealer. These were the cars owned by local apartment dwellers who had been unable to find parking spot on the narrow street that bisected their soot-streaked buildings. Then, each morning, they all departed in a mass exodus to local and suburban factories, and the lot replenished itself with a collection of Mercedes, Cadillacs, Corvettes, and BMWs as attorneys, doctors, and the Loyola University students came into the city from the suburban world to do their thing. At any other time of the year, the lot was a scabby blemish, a back of the hand slap to every resident in the area. In all the years I'd parked there, I had yet to see its downtown owners make any attempt to remove the litter, soggy newspapers, tin cans, and empty wine bottles that accumulated in their own little mountains of disease against the rusty chain link fencing. The only thing the lot had going for it was that there was no other available parking for 10 blocks. Today, however, with all of the lot's ends buried under nearly 3 feet of snow, it reminded me of a stretch of California's Pacific Grove Beach, even to its white mounds, which only yesterday had been automobiles. Apparently, there had been no exits by the locals this morning. They had probably taken one look at their buried machines, now igloos, and either busted or gone back to bed. Entrance to the parking lot was through 2 posts buried into concrete, set approximately 9 feet apart, upon which rested a large hollow iron bar gate. To raise the gate, to get into the lot and park, you deposited 2 quarters into the slot of a chipped white metal box, waited for the gate to rise after it was tripped electronically by the coins, and then drove through. Then the car wheels depressed some sort of mechanism in the asphalt, automatically lowering the gate behind you. To leave the lot, you needed 2 more quarters to bail yourself out, unless you had a special key, which you could rent for $20 a month. Keys were inserted into the special yellow box to activate the gate, both entering and leaving. After turning my attention from the bird-feeding Samaritan, I found my gate key in the glove compartment, pushed against the accumulated snow, which was considerably higher than the bottom of my car door, and stepped gingerly outside. Immediately, I became aware of the incompetency of a grown man dumb enough to wear low-cut rubbers on a day like this. The old man ceased his feeding operation long enough to glance my way and wave. The dog barked once and was silenced by some unintelligible words from his master. I nodded toward him and forced a weary smile. My good morning sounded strange and muffled in the noise-deadening snowfall. His response, in the deepest voice I'd ever heard, seemed to reverberate off the surrounding buildings. Once when Danny Thomas met radio commentary Paul Harvey, Danny said, "You'd better be God because you sure sound like him." This voice made my friend Paul sound like a timid choir boy. "I bid you greetings on this beautiful day." I had neither the strength nor the desire to dispute his words. I turned my key in the yellow box until I heard the mechanism activate. Then, half sliding, half walking, I returned to my car. Behind me, as I heard it respond for several thousand mornings, the gate creaked as it raised itself for my entrance. But no sooner was I back in my car, ready to shift into drive and ease my way through the deep snow into the lot, than the gate crashed back down into its original horizontal position with a loud metallic clang. I sighed in frustration. I shifted back into park, reopened the car door, stepped back into the cold snow, slid up to the yellow box, turned my key again. The gate rose once more, pointed its rusted tip toward the snow-filled heavens, and then fell back. Bong. Impatiently, I turned the key again, almost hard enough to snap it this time. Same thing. A short in the wiring, perhaps, from all of the moisture? No matter. There was no way I was going to get my car into that parking lot. And if I left it on the street, it was certain to be towed away. I just stood there, knee-deep in snow, cursing the idiocy of this aborted journey while I rubbed snowflakes out of my eyes. Just as I was beginning to doubt everything I'd ever written or said about the value of perseverance, the bird-feeding stranger interrupted my self-pity. "Let me help you." That voice was truly something, and there was a hint of command as well as an offer of aid in the resonant tone. He had moved close to me, and I found myself looking up into an amazing face, gaunt, heavily lined, set with large brown eyes. He had to be nearly 7 feet tall, because I'm no pygmy. I smiled and shrugged my shoulders at this Abraham Lincoln look-alike and said, "Thanks, but I don't think there's much we can do." The deep furrows around his eyes and mouth arched into the warmest, most gentle smile I'd ever seen on a human, and he gestured toward the recalcitrant gate. "It will not be difficult. Turn your key in the box again. When the gate rises, I shall step under it, grasp it with my outstretched hands, and hold it until your car passes through. Then I'll let it fall." "That's a heavy gate." His laugh boomed through the lot. "I'm old, but I'm quite strong. And most certainly it is worth our efforts to relieve you of your problem." Carlyle wrote that every noble work seems at first impossible. Carlyle? Yes, Carlyle. Thomas, 19th century English essayist. I didn't believe this. I was standing in a snowdrift with an icy wind lacerating my face. My feet were soaked and freezing, and I was turning into a snowman while a long-haired 70-year-old hippie was giving me a mini course in English lit. What else could I do? I'm a great believer in considering one's options, but I've also learned there are times and situations when you don't have any. I mumbled my thanks and waited while the old man gently tugged his basset toward the fence, where he removed the rope from his wrist and tied it through 2 links. Then he returned to my side and nodded. Almost hypnotically, I obeyed his silent command and turned my key in the box. Up groaned the gate bar. Then the old man stepped under it and grasped the cold metal bar firmly, just as it began its descent. I'm not too clear on the next several minutes. Although I thought about it often, perhaps the light and hurried breakfast, the long drive, and had finally taken their toll. I felt dizzy and my vision seemed to shift out of focus, as if someone had smeared Vaseline on my reading glasses. Everything seemed diffused. Strange tremors shook my body as I tried to fix on the apparition before me. Through the falling snow, I could see the wooden cross on his chest, and perhaps that's what triggered the illusion. Long hair, beard, hands extended at a 45-degree angle over his head, the gate bar, the crossbar, the patibulum carried by the condemned man on the way to Golgotha for his crucifixion. His voice, now touched with urgency, broke through my fantasy. "Hurry! Drive in!" I scrambled back into my car, shifted into low gear, gradually applied pressure to the accelerator, the tires grabbed, and I moved slowly past the stranger, under the bar, and through the gate. I eased the car gently into a low spot among the drifts and cut the ignition. My hands were trembling, my head was throbbing, my legs felt weak. Then I reached behind my seat, pulled out my attaché case, opened the door, and fell headfirst into the snow. I arose, brushed myself off, and locked the door. I turned toward the gate to thank the old man. My parking lot savior was nowhere in sight. And that's the end of chapter 1 of The Greatest Miracle in the World. I hope you'll join me again as we go into chapter 2, and I hope you have enjoyed this time we've had together. Take care, and we'll meet again soon.